Welcome back into Exit 99 Sports. As always, my name is Caleb Deloach, and today we're going to talk about first couple of weeks of the fall sports calendar that have kind of passed us by already since the last episode we've done. I apologize. It's kind of the weird long weekend. I was out of town. I'm going to be out of town just every weekend the rest of my life, I think. I'm just in weddings. I'm just neck deep in weddings right now, but we'll get out eventually. So a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything. Obviously, we're going to focus on football quite a bit, kind of the moneymaker for most places around here. And especially because nowadays we have 3 teams here in Cape County that play football. So exciting stuff. Obviously, Cape County, where we focus for any of those you might be new watching or listening. Exit 99 Sports is the title. Exit 99, kind of the midway point between Cape and Jackson. So that's kind of my purview, my focus, what I think I know the most about. And so it's kind of what I want to, the direction I decided to talk about on this show, because when I do talk to you guys, I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about a little bit. So that's my goal. That's what I know the most. Unnecessary background here of I split half and half going to Cape and Jackson in my life. Kindergarten through 6th grade went to Cape. The rest of it went to Jackson, graduated from Jackson. Have lived here after college. I've married a Cape graduate who also was a teacher and now a school counselor in the Cape School District. So I spent a lot of time when we first started dating, going to Cape football games, Cape basketball games. I was in the trenches of Cape football games too when they were winning like 3 games. So I was out here. I was a real fan. So this is where I've been. I worked at the Sportsplex. I got hired there from the time it opened up until my daughter was born at the kind of the end of 2023. So, this area, this Cape Girardeau County area is what I know, and it's what we talk about here. Like I said, for any of y'all that don't know, it's kind of what we're going to be covering. Cape, Jackson, Notre Dame, Saxony. It's what I know. It's what we're going to talk about. So, I mentioned I was at the Sportsplex. A lot of these kids now that are in high school, they were there because that was, 2017. So these kids were itty bitty out there playing football, baseball, softball, volleyball, basketball every day. So it's kind of cool. A lot of these kids I see now playing, I've seen them since they were like 6. So kind of neat. Makes me feel old a little bit, but we move on. So we will start with football. Like I said, now we are done with week 2 of the football season. Quickly talk about week 1. Some very big games to start out, some notable stuff happening. I guess the big one, obviously, Jackson hosted Cardinal Ritter. Jackson came out of there 23-20 win. It was incredible, 40-point turnaround from last season's 44-7 loss up there at Cardinal Ritter. For those who don't know, myself and then Cody Hinkabine, we do the radio for Jackson on 104.7. And so we were up there last year. It was a bad scene. But this year, a complete turnaround. The team played very, very well across the board. Drew Parsons played well at quarterback, a full year in as a starter last season. Now coming in as a senior. He played like a senior, took care of the ball, ran hard, put the ball where it needed to be when it needed to be, made throws when he needed to. I was very impressed by his performance. Jalen Hampton ran so hard, so consistently. He did well out of the backfield, catching the ball. But just his consistency of, even when it was, sometimes negative 2 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, he still had the persistence to, felt like the fight never changed, the effort never changed. I was very impressed by that. The defense, obviously, only allowing 20 to a as talented, skilled, athletic team as Cardinal Ritter. It was awesome. The defensive line was very effective. Those are guys I talked about on one of the last episodes with Coach Nesbitt, how, early in the season, some of those guys got thrown into the fire a little bit. And so they struggled a little bit early on. They were all very, very young, now a year older. These guys are really, really impressing. Like I said, a lot of guys that had playing time last year, even started last year, another year older, because this Jackson team was young last season, still very good, and obviously they went to the quarterfinals. and made a game out of it in the quarterfinals against Kirkwood. But there's a lot of guys been stepping up. Tyler Fisher in that first game had a pick. The kid's maybe the second best quarterback in, probably not maybe. The kid's probably the second best quarterback in Southeast Missouri, just behind the starter on his own team. But he's moved over to corner this year, has a pick, had a forced fumble in the game one, was hitting people at corner. Very, very impressed. Just a good game. Very solid game, start to finish. It was, a little, it was a pitcher's duel early on, both teams, just a lot of punts, but it was Jalen Hampton that broke it. Had the big 50-yard run. Jackson gets another big play from Blaine Reagan in the pass game. And they went up early, 13-0, and they let Cardinal Ritter get back into it, tie at 20-20. But then Evan Turley hit the big clutch field goal there at the very end. So it was very cool to see. Very fun ball game. Once again, in just wedding season like no other. I was out of town while it happened, so I was watching and listening and just trying to keep up with it while I was at like a rehearsal dinner at the time. I'm a bad wedding guest. I'm sorry. That's when. Sorry. People got to stop having weddings in the fall. So big time win, incredible win. Like I said, I'm trying to go over this kind of quick here, week one. Maybe not giving it the attention it necessarily deserves, but Cape went to New Madrid, won 21-6. Maybe not the score or as much offense as one expected, but a big reason behind that, unfortunately, sucks so much. Nothing you can do about it. Try to turn injuries off. Unfortunately, you can't do that in real life. Keyshawn Boyd, star tailback for the Tigers, goes down. I think he might have got carted off or took off in an ambulance, whatever. I think I heard in the last game I was listening to. If you want to listen to Cape, shout out to Ryan Winkler, my guy. Does all their games, Cape Central Sports on YouTube, so go check that out. But I was watching the game, and I think he said he had surgery already and all that, so not sure of the timetable. I think it's an ankle maybe, but just bad. It's just unfortunate anytime any kid goes down, especially when it's somebody who seems like a really good kid in Keyshawn Boyd. And, also somebody that, let's be honest, we're also super excited to watch. He's a big-time player. He had his sights on being the all-time leading rusher at Cape Central. And, yeah, I just can't say how much it sucks over and over again, but it does. And so there's been guys stepping up now. Just staying there on week one. A lot of new at Cape Central, especially with Keyshawn going down. You bring up Izzy Bridges, Torrance Murray in the backfield, Breon Clemens, kind of a do-it-all type of guy. Played receiver, will get in the backfield for them. Aiden McGuire, new starting quarterback for Cape Central as well. Just a lot of guys graduated off last year's team. A lot of seniors, a lot of very, very good players, very important players on the team. So new faces. New people having to step up. The defense has looked very good, as I mentioned, only giving up 6 to a New Madrid team that, people might, if you're a Cape or Jackson person, might look down on a little bit because they're smaller, blah, blah, blah. But they're a team that brought back a lot. They were a good team. I thought this was a team that might be able to score a little bit on Cape. I thought this game might be, like I said, higher scoring maybe, but Cape really shut them down, gave up one score, 21-6. Kind of just tried to get out of there after the injury to Boyd because they were feeding him early. It felt like he's going to show up week one, have 200 yards, but just went down. And yeah, it stinks. Like I said, I'm unfortunate for the kid, obviously praying for him and the family and everything, but just stinks. Yeah, stinks. As a fan, as a person, just sucks to see. And then the cool new fun story of the year, Saxony, has a football team at the varsity level. Now, last year they had a football team play at JV. They went undefeated in JV schedule. Once again, we covered all that in a past episode, the football preview I did with Cody and Ryan. But this year, we went up to varsity for the first year, and they demolished Veritas Christian Academy up there in O'Fallon, Missouri. And it was 54-18 that ball game. They forced 5 turnovers. They just moved up and down the field at will. Really impressed by a lot of the guys I'm seeing. Obviously the one who's going to get a lot of the Pub is Kai McDowell, quarterback. Kid looks good. He's running well. He's putting the ball where it needs to be. Like I said, a dominant win, not a surprising win. I knew going into it, some of these teams are playing maybe a little, it might be a struggle for some of them this year, but I do like what I've seen out of Saxony there, especially week 1, jitters, blah, 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 all that stuff. I'm sure they're very fired up, but yeah, they did great. Got interceptions, forced fumbles. The defense was everywhere. It was a fun game to watch. It was a very cool, really neat experience, kind of just seeing in, I think what newspaper or the KFVS said birth of a program. Yeah, it's cool to see. I was very impressed by them. I've been impressed by them. We'll talk more about them here in week 2. But yeah, very cool. I guess other housekeeping from week 1, district assignments came out. Jackson's in the same district, Class 6, District 1. Nothing new going to really be there. Seckman, Lindbergh, all the usual suspects. Cape is in the same district, Class 5, District 1. Obviously, the notable omission is no more Cardinal Ritter. So a door is open. A bigger door is open. It's open more widely, I guess you should say, for Cape to get out of districts again this year. District 2 is pretty tough if you look over there, but we'll get there when we get there. And the Saxony, Class 1, District 1. Good place to start. Going to be pretty competitive. I think Haytai's in there. So some talented teams, very, very skilled athletic kids. They might be facing when we get to the playoffs. So, but we've got a long way to go. Like I said, we're only just now finished up week 2. Also, the allergies in Southwest Ohio, which is where I was, have still put me down here for a count. So, move into week 2 for football. I'll get into it a little bit more here. So, we'll start again with Jackson. They took on Ballard High School out of Louisville, Kentucky. When a team is 5 hours away from a different state, it's a little bit more of an unknown. And that's kind of how it felt for me because, I do play-by-play. And so prepping for the game, I bought the Courier Journal. Shout out to the Courier Journal from Louisville. Just to read about this team. They had preseason previews and, a very good team. They were a top 10 team in the biggest classification in the state of Kentucky. They play in, the Louisville City and Suburban League, and they play really, really big, really, really talented schools each and every week. And so sometimes the record doesn't necessarily reflect how good they are. Like last season, they had a losing record when they hit the playoffs. It's a similar playoff format, at least size-wise of the classes and stuff as Missouri. So they entered round 1 of districts, and they took it all the way to the state quarterfinals before losing to the eventual state champion. So this is a very good team, talented team, a lot of athletes. They look like they had really good size. And I didn't know what was going to happen, really. I mean, I had the context of Jackson beat Cardinal Ritter. And Cardinal Ritter, you might question how truly talented they are this year a little bit because, this is something else we talked about in the previews, but they lose a quarterback to Illinois. Their running backs at Nebraska. Their best receivers at Kentucky. They lose 5 defensive backs to the FBS. I mean, they lost an entire high-level college football team of graduates this past year. So, you might say, how good is a top-end talent? That's a fair question. But the size, the athleticism was there. They brought back, I think, 4 of their 5 offensive line starters. I mean, those dudes were huge. Their D line was huge. Their skill guys were unbelievably fast and quick. So they still have a middle linebacker that's going to go to anywhere in the SEC he wants. So, I mean, they were good, and Jackson beat them. So, I didn't know what the one-to-one comparison between Louisville and St. Louis is in football talent. But I had questions. I had concerns going into the game. Louisville's a team that really wants to run it a lot. And so that helped me feel confident because in the past, Jackson has done well, against teams that do kind of lean on the run heavily. So that made me feel good. And then we get there. Jackson controlled the game. I mean, it was low scoring early. I think it was, it was 6-0 after one quarter. And then it was 13-10 at halftime. And then final score ended up being 32-10. And yeah, Jackson just looked good. They just played well. The defense is really for real, I think. They're quick. They hit hard. They get to the quarterback. I was genuinely very impressed just with the defense as a whole. I mean, obviously flip over on offense. Drew Parsons, huge game, 260-yard plus passing, like 60 yards on the ground, 3 total touchdowns. A good week again. He had 1 pick. It was kind of an arm punt. I think it was like 3rd and long. Didn't really hurt Jackson too much. But outside of that, just good decision making again. He knew when to use his legs. He didn't overextend plays, hit guys. His throwing on the run ability this year is unbelievable. It's up there with some of the best guys that Jackson has had the last decade plus, where they've been very, very good. And he's just looked fantastic these first couple of games. I've been really impressed. Another guy, been around for a while now, Jalen Hampton. Another around 100-yard rushing game, did well receiving once again, or in the pass game did well once again, had a touchdown. Had 1 screen pass. He took 70 yards, get called back, which kind of stunk, which was kind of the story of what did Jackson have a problem with. I want to say 16 penalties, what we had in the press box. So we got to maybe clean that up a little bit. A lot of holds, a little bit of chippiness at the end of the game, but I'm sure Coach Nesbitt will have that ironed out. I'm sure he will. And then another guy, more guys on offense. There's a lot of guys on offense, but Jory Toma, a revelation. It's not a surprise per se. He looked good last year, right? I'm at every game. I'm calling every game. He looked really good last year. It felt like there was a lot that could be there. And he's kind of, fulfilling that this season. I think he's established himself kind of as the number 1 guy. He's just always open. He's a fantastic athlete because we also do basketball games. And this year he might lead Jackson in receptions and receiving yards and also points per game in basketball. So he's just a fantastic all-around athlete and really impressive. And then also he flips over to the defensive side every once in a while. We'll play some safety and big passing downs. Had an interception at the end of the game. So, the kid is really good. And then Memphis Maddox kind of had a little bit of a breakout game. Had a breakout drive, I think is kind of the most accurate description. He had a screen pass that went 70 yards. And then I think they gave him the ball maybe on the very next play. And he just ran through some people's faces, got into the end zone for a score. Looked like a beast. Once again, the offense, the backfield especially, Parsons, Hampton, Maddox are running really well with the ball, taking care of the ball at a high level. And like I said, the receivers look good. They look good. Jory looks good. Grant Brown at tight end gets open, gets down, makes plays with it after the catch. Evan Turley has done well. He's probably the fastest straight line speed guy of all the receivers. He does a great job in the slot. Camden Brockmeyer, big body, does a good job getting open out on the perimeter. There's not a lot to complain about on the offensive side at this point. Maybe, like I said, clean up some of the penalties, and there's not going to be many teams that are going to slow them down on that side of the ball. Defensively, once again, looked really good. They were able to get pressure with 3 guys, and those 3 guys I talked about a lot last year that might have had some growing pains, or some of these guys, and they've looked great. Zayden Johnson been getting to the quarterback, Cameron Caldwell, Keegan Brugman. They've all been getting to the quarterback, 3-4 guys, and I've been nothing but impressed. They've stopped the run well. The DBs on the back end have looked really good. The Reagan brothers, Blaine Reagan, we know has unbelievable track speed, and he's whatever. I can't break down his technique necessarily at corner, but he can run with any receiver that he's going to face. And Tyler Fisher, the backup quarterback, flipped over to cornerback, has been awesome. He's been laying the lumber on people. He runs really, really well. I've been impressed. Linebackers have tackled well. Joe Moore, Brett Finley, all those guys have played really well. The only question mark, Boyd Langford did not play at all this past game. I don't know the extent of the injury. I think it's upper body related. I've heard it's not super serious, we hope, but you never know about re-injury, stuff like that. So take it as long as he needs. He's a stud. There's somebody that Jackson, if they want to go deep into playoffs, probably need to have on their defense. The only question mark was the special teams. 3, or besides the penalties, 3 missed extra points. I think it got mental after a minute because, Evan Turley missed some extra points. But the week before, he came in with like 2 minutes to go in a ball game, and one of the biggest moments of his life, and nailed a field goal, right? From the same distance he kicks the extra points. So I'm not too worried. I know him and other guys are more than capable, and so I'm not too worried about that. Blocking a little bit on the punt unit, it was a bit of a concern. I know Brown had some guys in his face, forced a couple of short punts, but I'm just really nitpicking. The team looks really good. Another game, Cape Central, they knocked off St. Charles West 26-7. First game without Keyshawn Boyd, and they didn't really miss a beat, especially on, in that part of the ball game, keeping it on the ground. They ran for 255 yards. Izzy Bridges, welcome to the show. He has emerged. He's the guy. 180 yards. Torrance Murray, a little bit more of the Thunder to the Lightning, had 75 yards. As a team, they outgained St. Charles West 394 to 162. Now, given St. Charles West isn't great, they're not bad. But this is a team that's had losing records the last couple of years. So it was a good test. It's a good game to get back out there without Keyshawn Boyd. But yeah, I'm really impressed with Izzy Bridges. Really just quick accelerator. He hits the hole, does not dance around in the backfield at all. Very decisive, takes the handoff, full head of steam, and gets upfield. Never gets put in a position, like I said, where he's dancing, doesn't lose yardage. So I was really, really impressed with him. Torrance Murray, he did it last year too. He's a good player. I didn't have a lot of concern about him. I figured he'd come in and be productive once again this year. And it seems like it's going to be that way. It feels like Izzy Bridges is really just picking up the steam, or is picking up the, where they left off with Boyd. And then Clemens, once again, the guy mentioned, kind of a Swiss Army knife. Keep finding ways to get him the ball. If I'm them, he does well in the pass game. He's a good receiver, gets open, very fast kid, once again, a good track kid. And, they put him in the backfield. It was kind of interesting looking, kind of watching the offense, what they do. Aiden McGuire, quarterback, did well. Feels like the coaches are, he's getting more comfortable, but the coaches are also kind of believing in him as well. And he got to put it in the air a little bit more. He went 8 for 14, had 112 yards, had a touchdown. I mean, a couple of those incompletions were just straight drops to hit people in the hands. So he looked good. He moved around in the pocket really well. He didn't just kind of bail and start running a lot like some, like younger, inexperienced quarterbacks might do. He, hung in there. He moved around, like I said, in the pocket really well, stepped up well, and found guys over the middle of the field, was not afraid to make throws. Really impressed. He looked really good. He's between week 1 and week 2, it feels like already just kind of grown really exponentially. The coaches talked about, keeping his confidence level high, but I was impressed. He looked good. He looks really, really solid right now. I'm super excited with the product I'm seeing out at Cape Central. I mean, their offense, it is what it is. It's always been a little one-dimensional, kind of leaning on the run heavily. But I do like what they're doing. They did it last year, and they're doing it again this year. Kind of where they diversify the look that they're putting out there, kind of diversify the formations. A lot of it's option concepts. They do most things out of the pistol, and a lot of it's just they motion guys into the backfield, and then at that point they're running the old school triple option for all my old school crowd out there, like the little ground and pound. I mean, they're running triple option. They're just running it out of the pistol. And so McGuire, once again, did a good job making decisions, made good reads most of the time. And then when he did get the ball in the hands of Bridges and Murray, there was not a lot of thinking. The offensive line did a good job. Offensive line has looked good for them so far. They did a good job paving the way, and those kids just hit the hole and took off. They had some big runs, and I was impressed. I like what they're doing. And then, the thing that doesn't get talked about enough, even the last couple years, they had Zaire Thomas, they had all these kids that are fun and explosive offensively, but the defense is kind of what has flipped a switch for them as a program. They were shutting out people pretty consistently last season, and this year already, one score in the first ball game, one score in this ball game. That's where they're going to lean on. I think that they can keep leaning on that defense, and it's going to take them far. And the offense is going to do enough most games, I think. They're going to run the ball. Like I said, big offensive line, good offensive line, get behind some of those big bodies. And Izzy Bridges feels like the real deal. So I'm excited to see him, what he can do as we move on through the season. And then finally, Saxony, their first home opener, technically. It was at Houck Stadium. I was in attendance. Took on Doniphan, beat Doniphan 35-7. It felt one-sided. Size and athleticism and skill and scheme. It felt very one-sided. This is a game. Both these teams were playing JV last year, and they played each other week 1, and it was a 2-point ball game. Saxony won. So the leaps and bounds Saxony has grown over the course of that time, you can see very, very easily. Once again, the guy that makes, just the straw that stirs the drink, if you will, Kai McDowell does a great job. 16-23. He had 300 yards passing. He had 5 touchdowns. He ran for 68 more yards, is what it said. So he's doing it all. He did a good job just getting the team into the offense, getting guys lined up. When they do go into the hurry up, he's aware. He knows where guys are at. And they're doing a good job. He's finding the open man. It wasn't rocket science necessarily against Doniphan. They were trying to be aggressive, I think, and they were playing a lot of man, and he was just killing them. Like, there was just kids running wide open, and he was hitting them. He saw it, found the guys who were wide open, hit them. They scored a lot of touchdowns. Zach Ross, Jaron Anderson, Alan Rudd, Bryce Gabler had a couple of touchdown receptions. So not a lot of complaints there on the offensive side. McDowell ran it really well, I thought, out of the quarterback position. Good athlete. And so I think that's something that whenever competition might get a little harder, we might see more of, because the running game as a whole, I think, needs to continue to develop, because they just haven't had to really run the ball much because they're just throwing it to wide open dudes. But week 1, they were running, they scored, I think, 7 rushing touchdowns. And so it's there. They have a big offensive line. But Doniphan really tried to take that away and force the pass, and, well, congrats. You got thrown all over. So here you go. Defensively, Doniphan really just loaded up the run game. That's what they do. They were a power run team, it looked like. And overall, Saxony, they gave up 7 points. They did fantastic. The defensive line is big. They use those guys to really kind of eat up blocks and let their linebackers come downhill, make tackles, fill in the gaps. And they did a good job. I like to see the defensive line maybe get off some blocks a little bit better in the run game. The pass game, they do pretty good. They get off, they rush the quarterback pretty well. But it's just a youth thing, or sometimes, right? Technique. Some of these guys are still learning the position a little bit. So they weren't challenged too much in the passing game. But they did well. They manned up on people. And, Coach Turner's son, Ozzie Turner, he had his nice interception in the end zone. I want to say late in the first half when Doniphan kind of drove down the field on them. And, they got to stop there. They came up with big defensive stands whenever Doniphan would start moving the ball a little bit. I know one thing Coach Turner mentioned was just finishing the game, kind of putting your, shoe on the neck of their opponent a little bit, because I think it was they won the second half 7-0. So, you want to see them kind of keep the aggression up. But once again, young team, you get maybe a little lax there whenever you have a commanding lead. And I have no complaints, no no's really about what they're doing so far. I think they're going to win a lot of games. We'll talk about this upcoming week here in a little while. But I've been impressed. I think they're a really good team. I think they have a lot of promise. They have a lot of kids that are good athletes. Like I said, the Zach Ross kid I like a lot. Super good athlete, only a sophomore as well. And so this is a team that are going to be talented. They're in Class 1. They're going to be undefeated, I think, going into Charleston. I'm looking ahead. We're too far here, but they're going to be undefeated going into the Charleston game, and Charleston just got blown out Potosi. So, where's Charleston at? I don't know. We'll get there when we get there, but they're going to have a lot of success in the regular season, I don't doubt, and I think they're going to win some games in the postseason. So, once again, Class 1, District 1, I have high expectations. They're a good team, and they've been a lot of fun to watch, and I'm excited to keep it going here. See where they see what kind of heights they can reach. So moving in to non-football a little bit here, don't talk about everybody else. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the fall. You got boys soccer. You've got volleyball, girls volleyball, softball. You've got girls tennis. You've got boys swimming. There's a lot going on. Cross country. So I'll kind of just go team by team or school by school. Kind of just cover everything. And yeah, it's kind of just what I found. Look, some things don't, fire me here. Some sports are harder to find results for than others, but what I do have is I'll tell you, I'll report here to you right now. So we'll start with Jackson. Boys soccer. They are sitting at 2-1 right now. They had a brutal double overtime loss to Rockwood Summit, who was just the perpetual monkey. They cannot get off their back. Rockwood Summit they own Jackson. They've lost I looked up the stat. It was they've lost 10 of 11 or something like that to Rockwood Summit. Had an opportunity this year at home, lost in double overtime. Like I said, brutal, but they bounced back. They participated in the Notre Dame Soccer Fest at time of recording. I'm recording on September the 8th. And so this past weekend for me, they did well. They played Murfreesboro, Illinois, won that one 3-1. Blew out St. Francis Borgia 6-0. It's a good start to the season for them. Next game, I would encourage you to go check it out. They're going to be playing DeSmet September the 13th. DeSmet, very good at soccer and everything else. DeSmet, according to some poll I saw, United Soccer Coaches Association, something. They're the number 12 team in America, not in the state of Missouri, in the United States. So it's going to be a challenge. But, go check it out. Maybe if, get the crowd behind the Indians, see if they can pull off the upset of the century. See what happens. Volleyball. I talked to Coach Murley earlier in the summer. Go check out that interview on YouTube or wherever. And, he's high on this team, and they've started out living up to those expectations. They're 6-0. They went up to Carterville to start the year. I think they beat Carterville and Pinckneyville in straight sets. They beat Dexter in straight sets commandingly. They went 3-0, they have not dropped a set through 6 games. They went 3-0 at their own Jackson Showcase. They beat, I think, St. Clair, Missouri, North Point, Mississippi, and Dyer County, Tennessee. Teams that were good, too, last year. So, they just continue to look good. I'm very impressed with, his program, the athletes. And there's a lot of kids you can talk about it, for them. Avery Bruni has played well. Lauren Dory has played well. Melena Haynes, new to the team, moved in from out of state, I believe Coach Murley mentioned in our interview. She's also committed to Harding University, the best school in America. People are saying. It might be biased. I might have went there. Shout out to her. She's done well since moving in, joining the team. I'm gonna miss people just by starting to name people. Who all has been balling out? I've seen the Roosler girl, the Cowart girl. They've all been playing really, really well. Defensively, they've played well. They look really good. So I would encourage you to go check out Jackson Volleyball if you have any interest whatsoever. They're not going to be at home for a while. September 9th, they play at Poplar Bluff. On the 12th and 13th, they're going to be up in Rockwood. Rockwood Summit, playing a tournament up there. They're going to play some really good teams. And then they're going to be home against Cape. So kind of a mutual Exit 99 showdown there on the 16th of September. So go check that one out. Jackson softball started the season 5-3, which kind of took me by surprise when you first look at it. But they've played really good competition. 3-1 at their own Jackson Invitational. I think they lost to a good Parkway South team. They lost at home to a really good Lindbergh team. They went 2-1 at the Rockwood Summit tournament. The teams they're losing to are very, very talented. They're very good. So, I'm not too worried. I think they're going to end up being a very solid team. I think they're going to be good. They have an upcoming road trip. So they won't be around here for a while. They're going to be playing on the road at Marquette, but they will be playing at Cape soon. So definitely go check that out. I'll talk about that here in a moment. And then they're going up to Troy, Missouri. They're playing Troy and Odessa up there. So once again, they just play tough competition every week. Girls tennis for Jackson as a team, they're 5-2. Both losses to Kennett. Shout out to Kennett, man. They just I don't know what else they do, but they play tennis, and they're really, really good at tennis. So upcoming matches, they're playing right now as I'm recording at Saxony. And they'll be playing September 9th at home against Farmington, and then on the 12th, go check it out over at Cape Central. You'll see a lot of teams here in the area. They'll be playing at the Cape Doubles Tournament, so that'd be cool. Go check that out. Cross country for Jackson. It's pretty good athletes they've got on the team right now. You know, they hosted their own invitational early. It's kind of a weird deal where the races are only 2-mile races as opposed to a normal 5K. But they do 2-mile races, and they break it down. There's like a freshman race, a sophomore race, a junior race, and a senior race, or they might race. I don't remember what they do exactly. They race together and then split up the results separately. I have been to the Jackson Invitational, but it's been a few years. So some people to shout out from there. Over on the boys' side, Aiden Edboski and Nate Meisner both got first in their age group, so very cool to see. And they also competed recently at the Carbondale Invitational. They got first as a team on the boys' side. Aiden Edboski got first. Nate Meisner got third. Chase Wendell got fourth. So they performed really, really well over there in Carbondale. The girls did well as well. That's a sentence. Hallie King is another one, really good athlete, a girl I saw play at the Sportsplex. She was like 5, really good basketball player, only a freshman, kind of the leading the team right now in cross country. Came in 6th. Emma Needbalski 13th, Annika Stevens 15th. They came in 16th, 17th, 18th as well. So they're running really well. They have a good team over there. They always have a good cross country team. So keep up with those kids. I think they're going up to Forest Park. I want to say that's the 13th September. So big race up there in St. Louis at Forest Park. It's cool. I've been up to it a couple times, so it's very, very neat to see. I mean, there's a million kids just running around everywhere. One thing that is pretty darn good at Jackson is the girls golf team, and they're led, of course, by Julia Schlitt. She is coming off of a second place finish, or tied for second place finish at state this past year, and she's a state championship contender once again. Jackson won the Webster Groves Varsity Scramble Team Championship. So they do, it's 2x2 scrambles here. So Julia Schlitt, Allie Burrows came in 4th. Maddie Thrower and Liv Lacey came in 11th. Ava Moody and Jay Helfrich came in 15th. And then at Lindbergh, they got 3rd out of 28 different teams. Big time golf tournament. 123 kids. Julia Schlitt came in 1st place. Shot 2 under. Just playing out of her mind right now. She's very, very good. I know Maddie Thrower came in 14th. And then who else? Liv Lacey shot at 88. Ava Moody shot at 91. Allie Burrows shot at 94. So as a team, they're playing really well. And, of course, Julia Schlitt is just playing out of her mind. And then I know in the boys swimming side, I was having a hard time. If you're on the boys swim team, you want to hit me up with some results the rest of the season, I would appreciate it. You're a parent, hit me up. I know they beat Cape head-to-head in a meet at SEMO recently, which is pretty cool. Cape, very, very good swim team, so very nice accomplishment. We will move on to the Tigers, speaking of them. Talk about the same stuff. Boys soccer, they're 2-2, new head coach, Chad Crafton this year. They played every team in Southern Illinois. They've lost to Murfreesboro and defeated Freeburg at the Greg Klein Invitational. They beat Marion, Illinois, and lost to Carbondale at the Notre Dame Soccer Fest. So eventually they will play a team from Missouri. They'll be playing at Farmington the 9th, and then their first home game, the 16th, against Sykeston. So should be a good one. Come check it out. Softball, 2-4. They beat East Carter. They beat Perryville. They played a pretty good schedule as well. They have a lot of games coming up. The 9th, they play Saxony. The 10th, they will be hosting Jackson. The 11th, they're hosting Naylor. So good games. Once again, I would encourage you to go watch them and check them out. Girls tennis team, they're sitting at 2-5 right now. They went 1-3 at their tournament. at Cape. At home, they'll have Saxony on the 9th. Good local rivalry there. They're at North County the 11th. Volleyball team, the record I could find, the reporting has been weird. Like on the Misha website, there's like 2 games reported. If you look on Max Preps has them with 5 games reported, which has them at 2-2-1. That's what I'm going to go with for right now. 2-2-1. They beat conference teams, Poplar Bluff and Sikeston already in straight sets. I know they lost up at Valley 3-1. Valley is a monster year in and year out. It's a very small school, right? But they're very good at volleyball. They have a machine in volleyball. And a lot of games coming up. They along with, I think, Notre Dame and Saxony, are going to be playing at Dig for Life on the 12th and the 13th. Check out our social channels to get a schedule for that. I'll try to get one, put it out on every Facebook, X, Instagram, whatever. And but yeah, it's a big local tournament. A lot of local teams, kind of up into St. Louis, out west. Teams like Winona, people like that, are usually all out there. So it'll be good. It'll be fun, competitive stuff. They play the Sportsplex, the Show Me Center, I believe. So get out, go see some good volleyball. Head coach Summer McCauley Purdue on the podcast, so you can check them out. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you listen at. Go check out that interview. She had a lot to say about this team, so it was fun talking to her, and I'm very very excited to see how they progress throughout the year. We'll jump over to Notre Dame. Their boys soccer team is 3-1 right now. They only lost 3-2 to Perryville. They come from behind win, I think, by Perryville. A little bit of heartbreaker. Coming up, though, they'll be playing at Saxony the 16th, so we got a little bit of time. Get ready for that one. Go check it out. Good local rivalry. Saxony, and we'll talk about them more here in a minute. They're co-oping a team with St. Vincent out of Perryville. So maybe some names you might not be familiar with if you are a Saxony person, but cool deal there between those two teams. Softball, playing well. They're 8-3. I mean, they've lost to Chaffee 2 times. Chaffee, a monster. And they lost to Jackson. So they went 2-2 at the Jackson Invitational. The second loss to Chaffee went to 8 innings. So it was kind of brutal. And they went 6-0, though, at home in their softball fest. So it was very cool to see. Shout out to those girls. They're playing really well, and wish them the best. Coming up, they've got Neelyville on the 9th, and then they're going to be on the road forever. So you won't see them again until like the 22nd. They're playing September 10th through the 20th. They got 4 road games, and they're playing in the Lady Jays Classic. Don't ask me where the Lady Jays Classic at. We'll get there. We'll get there one day. Girls tennis, Notre Dame's 4-3-1. They beat Farmington. They beat Cape twice. They beat Arcadia Valley. They lost to Kennett twice. Kennett, death, taxes. Kennett tennis, girls tennis. I don't know if they have boys tennis. They are just phenomenal. They beat Notre Dame twice. They beat Kennett beat Notre Dame twice. Jackson beat Notre Dame. And they also had a draw with Sikeston. And coming up, they're going to be hosting Charleston on the 9th, Festus on the 10th. And then volleyball, been a little bit of a rough start. 2-5-1 is what I could find on them. They have wins over Orchard Farm, up like North St. Louis, and Alton. They've lost to Hillsboro, Windsor, Jefferson, Farmington, Potosi. They had a split with Pacific. Coming up, they've got games against Sikeston on the 9th. They're at Scott City, not too far of a drive. You want to get down there. And then they're in the Dig for Life as well, the 12th and 13th. So go check them out. The cross-country side of things, I didn't see Lily Coy run in the first meet they had at Dexter, so I don't know what the deal is with there. I don't know if it's a health thing or what. But Martina Ressel, who was a superstar freshman last year, came in first, broke the course record, I think, over at Dexter, 19:05. Fantastic race by her. She's a beast. I'm excited to see her run. See her run this year, so I'm excited to see her. And, how the team as a whole comes on. I think they're going to be tough. You're going to have 2 girls at the top of most every meet throughout the year in cross country. And finally, Saxony. Saxony boys soccer, at time of recording, it says they're 0-0 on the Misha website. Once again, I don't know. Like I said before, they're co-oping a team with St. Vincent. They have some games coming up, though. They're playing at Fredericktown on the 9th. They're at St. Pius the 11th, and then home against Notre Dame on the 16th. There's your first chance to, stay in the area. Go check them out. I would encourage you to do so. Softball, good start to the year, 6-2. Lost to Fredericktown, lost to Notre Dame. Good wins, though. They beat Timberland, beat St. Pius, beat Herculaneum. And they're playing on the road this week. Time of recording, like I said, is September 8th. So the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, they play at Cape, at Sykeston, and at Chaffee. So go check out some good softball at Chaffee. Chaffee is a dog, once again, phenomenal. Girls tennis, at the moment, 2-0. I think they're playing right now as I'm recording at Saxony right now. They beat Arcadia Valley. They beat Poplar Bluff. So good wins by them, playing up against some bigger competition, especially Poplar Bluff. They'll be playing at home on the 10th against Fredericktown. And they'll also be in the Cape Doubles Tournament. Cape Doubles Tournament will be hosting a lot of local kids. I think I mentioned that earlier. Go over to Cape Central. Good facility. It's right there at the high school. Just a bunch of courts. Bang, 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 right all next to each other, right on the road. Maybe not the best layout for that, but nonetheless. Volleyball for Saxony. 1-0 once again at time of recording. I think they're playing as I'm speaking to myself right now. You guys will be, by the time you watch it, you already know how they did against Dexter. But they beat Advance in a thriller. That was a very, very cool game. Advance, as many of you probably know, is a state power in volleyball. Class 1 school that they've won 3, 4, 5 state titles in the last decade, something crazy. They're awesome. They went down to Advance and came back from down 2-0, win 3 straight sets, 3-2, come out of there with the victory. Good momentum around that team. They do a great job on social media, by the way, so shout out to them. They're posting all the time on Instagram, Facebook. Very, very cool. So I appreciate their support. I appreciate schools that, get the information out there. I can actually report to you how these teams are doing. So yeah, go check them out. Give them a follow. They make a lot of fun videos. Keep you updated on Saxony volleyball team. And I think it'll be pretty good this year. And they are playing, like I said, right now. On the 9th, they're playing at St. Vincent. So you might already know the score of that game by the time you listen to this or see this as well. The 11th, they'll be hosting Sykeston, and then they're going to be at Dig for Life the 12th and 13th. So a lot of opportunities to go check them out. I would encourage it. And then cross country, that same Dexter Invitational, I said Martina Russell got first at. Nicholas Chambliss on the boys' side came in 4th. Leading a solid group over there. So that does it for all those sports. I will give you a little bit of a look ahead here for football. We're going to see how this goes, see how long this ends up being as a total episode. If it's too long, you might be seeing this as a second video in the future. We'll see what happens. Especially if Cody's here with me next time and I can talk for an hour and a half by myself. If you add him talking for a few minutes. Love you, Cody. It might stretch this out to be kind of long, but I'll do my best. I've been concise. Everybody be proud. So I'll do in the same order that I talked about football earlier. So I'll start with Jackson. Once again, I'll be on the road up there. They will be playing at Edwardsville. Edwardsville's been a house of horrors a little bit for the Indians the last several years. It's a long drive, over a 2-hour drive up there to Edwardsville. It has not gone well. Last season, the Indians got blown out 41-7 there from play 2. It felt like it was over. Once again, kind of a wonky situation. This will be the 3rd straight year that Jackson has played at Edwardsville. Last year, so this is year 3 playing there. Last year, Jackson had the whole hoopla bomb threat crap go on this past season. So that game was supposed to be at Jackson. It got moved to Edwardsville on Saturday. So that, and then the year before that was supposed to be at Edwardsville. It was at Edwardsville. And Jackson lost that one close. That was Coach Nesbitt's first year. I think it might have been game 1 under Coach Nesbitt. I don't know if I'm making that. Yeah, I think that was week 1 under Coach Nesbitt. And so it was. I remember that also because it was at Edwardsville. It was 1,000,000 degrees, and they pushed back the start time an hour. So it started at 8 p.m. So me and Cody got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. We were delirious. Enough about me. And then the year before that, 2022, Coach Eckley's last season at Jackson, Indians lost. I think I wrote it down. I think they lost in double. Yeah, they lost in double overtime. That was week 1 as well in 2022. So Edwardsville has been a massive thorn in the side of the Indians. I mean, they're good. They're a good team. They're 8A in Illinois. They're in the biggest classification in Illinois. They've got like 2,400 kids, they have a ton of kids. They've been awesome, but I say that this year they are 0-2 coming into the ball game. They lost to Glenwood, Illinois, good program, and Lawrence Central out of Indiana, who's a rather good program. I think they're in Indianapolis area. In the past, last season, I mean, we had too many turnovers early, and honestly, they were just bigger, more athletic, more skilled. Even like at most positions, they had the number 1 player in the state of Illinois on the team at defensive line, Yosei Epineza, whose brother is AJ Epineza, who's a second-round pick by the Bills. So there's only so much you can do with 6'6", 280 on the D-line. But they were just good, man. They were just good at every position. Their receivers were blazing fast. Quarterback was accurate. The defense was just swallowing Jackson. So, I mean, it was a perfect storm, and they rolled over us. Coming in this year, like I said, they're 0-2. Returners, there's not a lot. So a big reason they were so good this past year, they had like 30 seniors. I think the actual number was like 28, 29, something crazy like that. Like they had 1 million seniors. That was one memory I had. Like Cody and I were sitting in the home bleachers. So they had the banners of all the senior kids, and it went like length of the field were the seniors. So they had a lot of experienced kids, and now they have a lot of experienced kids that graduated. Coming back though, they have quarterback Yale Weaver. Great name, great quarterback name. He went 110 of 185 passing last year, 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Those numbers don't sound great. But he did, like, a quarter of his stats came against Jackson. Like, he went 24 of 35 for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Indians. In that game, 8 different players caught a pass, but 7 of those people have graduated. However, the one that did not graduate is a kid named Devin Hill Lomax, hyphenated last name, Hill Lomax, 6'4", 180, tall, athletic, fast, committed to Mizzou. He's ranked pretty highly in the state of Illinois. Going to be playing for Mizzou. Last year, 18 catches, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like I said, this team been decimated by graduation from last year to this year. They had 30 kids graduate. They lose, defensive lineman Epineza, their star linebacker Noah Ramirez, their running back who ran all over us, Stephen Moore, their tight end Jack Weaver, who gave us fits both seasons we played them. So it'll be a test, but a good opportunity for the Indians to once again do something people haven't seen in a minute, right? It beat Edwardsville. I mean, I know this is in this stretch here, we haven't beat them, so I don't know if we've ever beaten them actually, technically. So it's a good opportunity. I mean, it's probably the best opportunity we've had since they came to the pit and Jackson lost in double overtime in 2022. And they're tough, right? The way they play is tough to defend. They're going to spread you out. They're going to have strong running backs, trying to take advantage of light boxes because they're going to spread you out. Their quarterback Weaver is super accurate. And so he's going to he's going to be in the shotgun, take like 1-2 step drops, just throwing a million. They're going to slant you to death. They just run 1,000 slants, and they're just running these little quick out routes just over and over and over and over again. It's kind of a death by 1,000 cuts type offense. So, if you're the Indians, your guys on the outside are going to have to be great. I mean, the Indians have the personnel for it a little bit this year, I think. You've got Blaine Reagan is back. I like Fisher quite a bit. I like what I've seen out of some of these kids. The outside linebackers play in space really well. Lucas Cox, Finley, they tackle well out there. I mean, this is a good opportunity. They've been getting to the quarterback. Zayden Johnson, Keegan Bregman, Caldwell, the offensive lineman they flip over. Bryson Wessel was literally a defensive lineman committed to Iowa State. He's a stud. Gavin Shin gets a big push in the middle. Like these kids, this is their opportunity if they're going to beat Edwardsville. This feels like the year. So I'll be rooting for it. Obviously, I'll be on the call. So, and if I have to make a prediction, I'm just going to be a homer. I'm going to say Jackson's going to win, but it's going to be super close. It's going to be tough. It's going to be on the road. It's a tough place to play. Like I said, long bus trip. So it's going to be tough, but I'm going to give the Indians the edge. Maybe because I'm a homer, but also because I do believe that this team is good enough to do it. So don't get on me. Cape was on the road at Sikeston coming up this week, which will be an interesting test, I think, for both teams. We don't cover Sikeston technically here, but Sikeston is in year 2 under Coach Jim May. Jim May from Scott City, as many of you might know, did a great job at Scott City. He took them deep playoff runs. Him and his kid, Jimmy May, put together some awesome offenses there at Scott City. Very good teams, very, very good teams, super consistent. And, trying to bring that to Sikeston. I say it all the time. When I was a kid, whenever I was in high school, Sikeston could just beat Cape Central, or they could just beat Jackson, and it was like, yeah, they do that. That just happens. And so I want him to get Sikeston up back to that level where they are competing at the highest levels of the SEMO conference. And so far they're 1-1. They put 70 on Crystal City week 1, and then they lost to Dexter, who has a great program as well. Coach Jamerson down there does a great job. 39-24 this past week. So at the moment, it's early. Offensively, they're averaging 47 points. They're giving up 22.5 points a game. Cape has beaten them 6 straight games to this point as well. But they've been, Sikeston's been down. They've had a rough last several years. They've not been great, especially since Coach Gibbs, left there. And I do like I said, what Coach May is doing. They've got a good offense. Quarterback Pierce Baker's back from last year. Running back Kenneth Holcomb's back from last year. Receiver, they got guys back. Keen Atkins is a really, really good playmaker. And I think those guys, coming back, another year of experience, another year in the system, good head coach. They're putting together a really competent, good offense. And I think they're going to pose some issues for Cape Central. But once again, the defense has been Cape's calling card. Obviously, they're going to run it at you over and over and over and over again, and hope that you break eventually. I think it'll be an interesting game. Sikeston, I think, did have a little bit of O-line problems against Dexter. That could just be because Dexter is very good, but the offensive line was a little bit of an issue. That's why I do think Cape will come away victorious on this one. I think Cape will win by a couple of scores, somewhere in the 35-14 range, maybe. It might be a little bit lower scoring than that. Cape hasn't got over 27 yet, but I think the confidence is growing. Aiden McGuire, Izzy Bridges, he already ran for 180 yards. I don't know how much more you can do, but I like what they're doing. The offense, the receivers are kind of coming along. Clemens and other guys, I think Robinson was the kid's name, who made some catches this past week. I like what they're doing. I like where the offense is at. The defense is playing at a high level. And the defense lost a lot of guys too. We talk about the offense a lot because they lost a quarterback. They lost Zaire Thomas. But the defense lost some dudes. We talked about in the preseason with Ryan Winkler, who does their games. They lost Hopkins kid on defensive line who had led them in sacks the last 3 years. Shelton, Geyser, Pittman. They lost at Mateo Rivers. They lost guys all over the defense that were very, very productive. And so they've done a good job filling in for them. So I think the defense is going to be good enough, and I'm going to give it to Cape. But it will be tough. On the road at Sikeston, a little bit of an old school rivalry here. Cape Sikeston across most sports, mainly basketball, kind of get after each other. But this was a good rivalry in football, like when I was in high school in the early 2010s, late 2000s. Hoping to see that kind of come back. And I think it'll be a good game. I'm excited, but obviously be pulling for Cape. And then finally, Saxony is on the road at Sparta, Illinois. I think Sparta is technically co-oping a team. I didn't write down who it was with, but they're co-oping a team there. Not too far of a drive. If you don't know, about an hour. You go across the bridge up there at Chester. I'll be praying for you. And it's just like right down the road from Chester. So Sparta is 1-1 on the season, which means they are drastically improved from last season where they went 0-9. They beat Madison, Illinois, week 1, 48-32. They lost to Marshall last week, 42-12. I can't tell you a lot about Sparta, Illinois. I looked at what they did last year. They had a quarterback who was a sophomore, so he's theoretically back, Dariantes Monroe. He did well. He was also their top returning runner. They lost their leading rusher. They lose their top 2 receivers, maybe. They lose quite a bit in skill positions. And 2 of those guys that played offense also played defense when they're top 2 tacklers. So they lose a little bit. This is going to be Saxony by a lot. 5 scores, 6 scores. I think Saxony's going to win this game. Saxony's going to win this game going away. There's not enough. There's not enough there for Sparta. That's my opinion. Kai McDowell's going to have a big game. They're going to run all over them. I think the defense is going to play well. I don't really have any concerns. I don't have any doubts about Saxony right now, especially against Sparta, Illinois. I think this will be another big win for Saxony. I think people are going to keep being fired up. And, like I said, keep supporting. My only selfish take was I liked Saxony playing on Thursdays. I wish I could play Thursday every week so I could go to every game on top of calling the Jackson games. But I'm selfish. I would like them to schedule all their games around my needs. But yeah, it's very cool. It's very neat seeing them this past week over at Houck. I mean, at the moment, still on the Misha website, they have a open date between Sparta, and then they have nothing the 19th, that Friday. And then the 26th are going to be at home again against Marquette Catholic out of Alton, Illinois. So I'm going to assume that date's going to stay open. I don't think that's changed to my knowledge. So we got Sparta. They'll have a week off, and they'll be back at home the 26th and the 3rd. So it's kind of I'm circling still the Charleston date. We talked about it, I think, in the preseason a little bit. I don't, Marquette Catholic, not good either. I'm circling the Charleston game just because Charleston has had success. You know, they had a winning season last year. I know they lose a lot from last year, but, you know, they are a good, a competent, consistent football program. You know, Veritas Christian Academy is like a revived program. Donovan just went back to varsity. Sparta barely exists. Marquette Catholic, I think, has also had a co-op deal last year. So, those 2 games, that first game against Charleston is kind of what I have circled. If Saxony goes in and beats them 54-14, I'm going to say, hey, okay, we might have something here. We might have something. Yeah, I'm excited. I like where they're at. You know, taking a quick look at their district right now. You know, they're undefeated and Haytie's undefeated. They're both kind of running over people. Charleston's in the district is 1-1. Malden and Portageville are both 0-2. Malden, not great. So it's pretty much, we'll see how the Charleston game goes. Outside of that, it's, Saxony and Hayti, in my opinion, of, who's coming out of that district over there. Bouncing up to Jackson, look at their district real quick. There's 3 undefeated teams, the Indians, Northwest High School out of Cedar Hill, Missouri. And then Oakville is 2-0. A little bit of surprise. They put it on Lindbergh. And then Lindbergh is 0-2. They lost close to Rockwood last week and got killed by Oakville week 1. And then Seckman is 1-1. Seckman lost their first game for the first time in 3 years in a regular season. They lost week 1 to Parkway West. And they won close to Fox, big local rival there, 21-14 this past week. So Jackson is in a good spot right now in the district. They haven't been hosting the last several years because Seckman keeps going undefeated every year. So, hey, Indians get out of Edwardsville with a win. They might be in the driver's seat to host, so we'll see how that goes. We'll early. We're early. And then looking at Capes real quick, they're undefeated and Farmington is undefeated. There's the only 2 undefeated teams. Also, Coach Eckley at Farmington has them looking dangerous already. Just keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open at Farmington. Jackson will be there, and before you know it, so that will be something. Fox is 1-1. Webster Groves is 1-1. Miller Career Academy with Vashon and Sumner High School 1-1. Poplar Bluff is 0-2. Melville is 0-2. So the Mules 0-2. They lost a lot also. They got beat by a really good Valley View team out of Arkansas week 1, and then last week they lost a defensive battle 14-7 against Chaminade. Chaminade won the game with a minute left. So just putting all that out there for you. So all the teams here in Cape County in a good spot for football. And, like I said, a lot of other kids and a lot of other sports that don't get talked about as much, performing really, really well early on in the season. So I'm excited. Go check out all these sports. Obviously, everybody wants to watch football. I get it. But go see everybody else. There's some really, really good golfers. There's some really good tennis players. There's some really good volleyball programs here in the area. Really good softball programs. So go get out there. Go see these kids. Go find their schedule. Check us out on social media. Whatever, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X. I'm sharing all these schedules, when the games are, all the time. Anytime a school puts out a graphic, I'm sharing it. So, if you want to stay up to date, follow us, like us everywhere. Get on the YouTube channel. If you're still watching at this point, I'll know because I'll see the results of it. I'm not saying I'm going to start live streaming sporting events, but if we do get more subscribers on the YouTube, I might start live streaming sporting events. We'll see. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or next week. It might be a month or so down the road, but something to keep your eye on. I might start dabbling in various sports. So, hey, if you are a parent of a whatever player, a volleyball player, something, hit me up. We might have to make a little bit of a deal, but I don't put the cart before the horse here. So, yeah, go check us out. Follow us everywhere you listen to podcasts: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube. Post all the videos on Facebook as well. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I just want you guys to, I guess I always say, get out there, check out these kids who are the ones putting in the time, the effort, and, see the results of it. It's really fun. I appreciate all the support, and I've really enjoyed the beginning of fall sports season. There's a lot more to go, and the plan is going to be to cover it each and every week here with all of you. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Thank y'all.